And look at that, Matt. It's top of the hour, 10 o'clock. I like to be timely in all of these things. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to our first Chemists Corner Forum question and answer session. This is a session where real cosmetic formulators who have worked in the cosmetic industry attempt to answer your questions. We're going to go on for about an hour. With me is Matt Zoeller, or I don't know which way the video is going to go, but he's on one of my sides here. Say hello, Matt.
I'm to your right.
Oh, gotcha.
Also known as chemicalmatt on the forum.
Chemicalmatt on the forum. Okay. Before we get started, I just want to do a quick presentation. Cosmetic formulation Q&A. Matt Zoeller, Perry Romanowski. I'm Perry. That's Matt. Next up, here are just some of the topics we're going to cover. If you have questions about ingredients, we can cover that. If you have some formulation questions, we will attempt to answer those. We will answer questions about production and scale up, and any kind of resources you might have. We also can answer questions about science and the cosmetic industry in general. And if you put in your live questions in the chat, we can answer those questions. Now, I want to give some limitations here, just so you're not disappointed up front. There is some stuff that we're not going to be able to give good answers to. If you want a full formulation troubleshooting, for example, say, hey, I have this formula and it turns brown over time, what's wrong? A lot of stuff we can't answer if we don't know every ingredient in the formula and your suppliers and the conditions of manufacturing. That is typically the job of, you hire a chemist consultant. You know, we'll take a quick stab at something, but and it's just a guess. But if you really want full answers to a lot of these questions, you're going to need to hire a consultant or hire a company like Matt's company, which can help out with formulation. Also, if you ask questions about, give me a free formula, we have a resource for where you can find free formulas, but we're not going to give you formulas here. Vague questions will be difficult to answer also. So try to be really specific about your question. It makes it easier. And we're going to stay away from specific legal and regulatory questions, only because, now if we know stuff that's about the United States or outside of the US, that we can answer some of those. But if you're asking questions about what's legal in India or South Africa, I have no expertise in that. I don't feel comfortable answering those questions. So we'll answer what we can.
I'll add to that, Perry. Most of those regulatory questions could be very lengthy, and I don't know if time allows for us to actually go into those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then finally, a disclaimer, the answers are based on our professional experience and education. So there is no implicit guarantee that everything we say is going to work for you. Does that sound fair, Matt?
Sounds just like a typical day in the lab.
Exactly. I just wanted to, if you wanted to contact Matt, let's move us so you can see that. Oh, there you go. If you want to contact Matt after this, he works at Zoeller Laboratories in Chicago. That's his email, matt@zoellerlabsinc.com. And next up, of course, you can contact me through chemistscorner.com, through the forum. I did want to mention, since you guys are here, we do have a practical cosmetic formulation raw material course. If you check the offers, you can click there. There's a coupon code that'll save $100 on that course. It's a new course, and it just goes through cosmetic raw materials. It's a 9-module course. I put a lot of work into that, and it just tells you all the raw materials you need to know. All right, that brings us to the end of that. We ready to answer some questions, Matt?
Sure.
All right.
Let's rock.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with some of the questions that were sent in. And I'm going to put on my glasses so I can read here.
Brought mine.
Here's a question that comes from Mary. Mary says, I have formulated a shampoo with sodium lauryl glucosides, hydroxypropyl sulfonate 10%, and sodium cocoa glutamate 18%. pH is 5.1. The hair, when washing, feels okay, but after it's dried and the cuticles appear open, would lowering the pH help? Any other suggestions?
No, I think the APGs, the thing with those is they don't favor lower pHs. They're happier at higher pHs, and they always need a hydrotrope. I love APGs. They're renewable, sustainable, but you almost always have to have an amphoteric hydrotrope with those. That's probably what happens when you're using that shampoo. I would consider putting sodium cocoamphoacetate or sodium disodium cocoamphodipropionate in there to help with hydrotropicity.
Yeah, that's it. And when you say a hydrotrope, what kind of ingredient would you talk about?
Amphoterics in general help. Hydrotropes are surfactants that help other surfactants play well with others or play well with water.
Yeah.
And APGs don't play well with others. They really don't. So you need a hydrotrope to help them play well with others.
Sure. All right. All right. Next question. We're going to go through the first sort of questions are going to be some formulation questions. So we're getting to them. Here's a quick one. This comes to us from Jamie. Do solid shampoo bars need a preservative?
I think we could both agree negative.
Yeah, you generally
especially
don't.
High pH alkaline ones.
Yeah, for sure. And the only thing I would mention about that is that when you are formulating and you're making that decision to not include a preservative, you're taking a little risk even on an anhydrous formula like that. You never know what your consumers are going to be doing with the product. They store it in a moisture-laden area. It develops a biofilm, and that could be a problem, but it's a low probability thing. So.
Very low probability.
Yeah.
And we only mold.
Right, exactly. Here's Santa says, I want to duplicate a conditioner with the below formula or something close. How do I find the percentage of each ingredient?
I think I saw that. That's a list of ingredients that was posted. There's no way of knowing that without actually doing a reverse engineering of the formula. Right,
that would be a whole formulation question. Now, I would say about that, in general, one of the strategies is the first thing you want to do is figure out, what's the 1% line? What are the ingredients that are actually doing it? In that list that we were sent, there is a ton of extracts in there and those extracts, they're just in there for marketing. They're not actually having it. So you can first wipe away all of those, but you kind of have to know the raw materials. What are those raw materials doing? Once you know that, you can get through and try to start taking a guess at it. But it's a whole reverse engineering project, which you'd usually hire somebody to do.
Yeah. Start with solids.
Right. Here's a quick one. Dr. Payam says, how do I formulate SLS-free shampoos?
I would say I'd say don't bother. Use SLS.
Yeah, right.
Sodium lauryl sulfate's still one of the best at the price, but
we
could probably, again, as we said from the outset, we could probably have a 1-hour seminar just on that. But the surfactant manufacturers are rife with starter formulas and technical advice. So I would go to the major surfactant manufacturers and look at the proto formulas.
Your Steppins, your Henkels, your Solvays, I mean,
Colonial.
They've all got presentations on how to do sulfate-free. But I agree with Matt. The sulfate-frees kind of suck as far as how they work.
There's a lot of solids and a lot of different surfactants.
You've got to lower your expectations about what you can actually accomplish on that.
Generally, yeah.
All right, we're going to go to one of our first live questions here. What do you think?
Sure.
Rita says, finding a contract manufacturer who offers low minimum order quantities has been difficult, especially for startups. We have any suggestions on finding low minimum order?
Yeah, if they're in North America, I do. I don't know of many small minimums manufacturers in the UK or EU. Bill Toge might in the UK.
Yeah.
But I could definitely email me, and I can definitely refer you to people here in the States, especially here around the Chicago area. I know some really good small volume people.
Matt is really keyed into the contract manufacturing, especially in the Chicago and Illinois area, and the whole biosphere. It's very tight knit. All right, thanks for that, Rita. Here's let's see. We'll take one more live one here. Charmaine, I want to make sure my face mask isn't irritating to customers with sensitive skin, but when I use Optifend Plus for my masks with turmeric clay and honey, it tingles. Any suggestions? Optifend Plus.
That's phenoxyethanol.
Yeah,
and,
phenoxyethanol.
What is it? Is it sodium benzoate? Maybe I'm not. I can't remember right off the bat. I know it does have phenoxyethanol.
Yeah, definitely that. And phenoxyethanol. It can tingle people's faces. So the option is to get a different preservative, right? You don't
try a different preservative without phenoxyethanol. Would be the first choice.
I mean, I would say use a paraben, but
of course, I'd agree with you. That's not going to go very far in this world.
You know, people still use them, but yeah,
perfectly legal.
Who's it? Schilke has a pretty good list of alternative preservatives to phenoxyethanol, so I'd suggest checking out something from Schilke. Yeah. Okay, next up we've got a question from now you might know this one, Matt. I don't know if we should answer, but Mirhaus says, is there any ingredient to make my lotion shiny except silicone?
Well, yeah, esters, of course. Yeah.
Right.
If you can't use silicone, use branched esters, large esters, the penta, the ones that are sort of like dendrites. They'll give you some shine. And anything with a benzene ring, I mean, C12, 15-alkyl benzoate. As I've told many people many years on the forum, what can't it do?
Right.
It's poor man's phenyltrimethicone. So actually had some nice shine without being silicone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think silicones get a bad rap, but you know, there are, and I just, with all of these alternatives to stuff we've been using forever, you have to remember you're usually making a product that's not going to perform as well as what people are used to. So you just, that's a compromise.
Nothing really behaves like silicones. I mean, the tribology of silicones, it's just nothing really compares.
Yeah, exactly.
Comes close.
All right. Thank you. Here's one from Bernadette. How do you add actives to already made creams, gels, lotions, and serums?
Well, I think that's one of those "it depends" answers, Perry.
For sure. Depends on what the active is, right?
Yep.
If it's a water-based formula and it's a water-soluble active, you probably just try to mix it in.
Should be okay, but then if it's if there's electrolytes involved and it's an acrylate thickened, it'll crash it. You've got to just test it.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, you got to test it specifically there. Okay, I like this one too. How do you adjust? Now this might be me suffering from the curse of knowledge, but the question is, how do you adjust a formulation to the necessary pH?
How? I mean, what agents? Did you use a acidulant or an alkaline?
Right.
I tend to go with liquids. I like lactic acid 88% and or AMP 95 aminomethylpropanol. They're less likely to cause problems than a strong electrolyte like citric acid or sodium hydroxide.
Yeah.
Just my preference, and usually do it above 40, 45 degrees depending on the formula.
Right.
So that's the best way.
Yeah, I mean, the basic answer, if you want to lower the pH, use an acid. If you want to raise the pH, use a base. So,
Chemistry 101.
Exactly. Okay, let's take a live question here. Diana from Portugal. Do you know of ways to enhance the effectiveness of potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate at pH above 5.5?
Impossible. It just gets less and less active. I love that country, by the way, Portugal. Visited there a few years back. Yeah, it's those are acid donors. They're only effective below pH. They're really not effective above pH 6, no matter what the literature says. So you got to change preservatives.
Yeah. Or put in a paraben.
But put in a paraben, can't go wrong.
There we go. All right, let's. Here was a question from Varshni. What are the ingredients to formulate a 100% natural shampoo for hair care?
That would take a lengthy answer.
Well, here's my short answer to that: is there is no such thing as a 100% natural shampoo. It's impossible.
Correct.
There's no, you can't go outside and like, I think of the analogy of food. Like if I wanted to go outside and wanted a natural green bean, there's a plant I have in my garden right there. It has a bean. I go there, I pick it off, I have a green bean. There is no cosmetic that is natural like that. It's all processed, man-made somehow. And so when you're saying I want 100% natural cosmetic, they don't exist. Now, there's a lot of things marketed as 100% natural. I think they're really stretching it. And the FTC in the US anyway says you can't do that.
There's legal constraints to that.
Exactly. But it all depends on what you consider natural. Some people consider glucosides as natural, the natural surfactant. But to me, you have to chemically synthesize it to produce that. So.
Yeah. If you took a look at the reactor, you'd know it's not natural.
Right. Exactly. All right. Here's the next question. What is the best carbomer or gelling agent plus emulsifier for an SAP serum?
I saw that 10% magnesium ascorbyl phosphate. That won't work.
Yeah.
Acrylates crash. That's a lot of electrolyte to ask of an acrylate thickener. They just won't handle, especially magnesium. Divalent ions are the worst. They're the most likely to crash your carbomer or whatever acrylate you have.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably have to try something else that's a little more less sensitive to electrolytes.
Try a different, essentially a different
guar,
yeah,
but
the celluloses work?
Cellulose would work, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Try a different thickener. Okay. Here's one from Safaru. How do you use organic materials in a formulation? So I didn't really know what that meant, an organic material.
Yeah, that's kind of vague. Needs more background.
Right. I mean, some people do. So I've seen people online. They say they go out into they'll get a source of plants and they'll squeeze the plant out and then they'll use that material. I don't recommend that kind of formulating. You have no control over your batch, and even if you make a great batch once, you have no way of knowing like the next time what you're going to do. So
I agree with you, Perry. Reproducibility and safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what we got in here. Let's another ingredient question from Ruben. What is responsible for a shampoo conditioner that hardens the hair and make dreadlocks instead of softening the hair strands? I don't really know products for dreadlocks. Like what would you use?
Oh yeah, well that's what the co-washes are used for these days.
Oh, okay.
They're based on cationics like sterylconium chloride, cetrimonium chloride. Without knowing more about the formula, couldn't say. Can only speculate.
But those cationic surfactants are kind of the stuff you would use. Now, there is a limitation on those too. Those mostly are rinse out. You don't want to leave those in your hair. So
you must rinse them out. Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of the powdered shampoos. I'm kind of skeptical. Those have the silicas and diatomaceous earths.
Right. And trying to comb that out of your hair. But
not having dreads or locks, I can't really test them on myself either. So I can't say.
Well, that back in the 60s, that was a different story.
In the 70s, I had more hair.
That's right, in the 70s. Actually, Ruben did have another interesting question. At what temperature do you combine water phase and oil phases in a hair conditioner?
Well, it all depends on if you have a vaginal clot, you're going to go up to 90 degrees Celsius because those have a higher melt point.
Yeah.
Higher usually the better. The rule of thumb, I think, Perry, we learned when we were young chemists was the melt point of the highest melting point ingredient plus 15 degrees Celsius. So if beeswax melts at 75, go to 90. Most emulsifiers melt at 60, so you go to 75, 80.
Yeah, and that's what we were, when we did the VO5 shampoo, which had cetyl alcohol, stearyl alcohol, and which melts around 60, 65.
55, I think, so.
Yeah. So we would go up to 70 or 75, depending on the formula.
There you go.
Yeah.
And with cationic conditioners, by the way, a really common thing that people in the forum come into, and they have problems with viscosity reproduction. Always cool those slow mix, slow cool, or you'll not get reproducible viscosity. You can almost just turn off the mixer at 55 and let it stand overnight.
Yeah, let it set up like pudding or whatever.
Yeah. It's a liquid crystal. It forms a liquid crystal matrix. So,
I remember a lot of batches in Alberto with that VO5 conditioner. We had a tough time on a production scale making a consistent viscosity. So it was a tough time.
Yeah, process controls. There you go. That's one for the process control seminar, Barry.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move into more ingredient stuff. What is the most detangling natural ingredient to add to a shampoo for kinky hair?
Silicone comes from sand.
Yes, but that does point out you have to figure out what do you mean by natural. Like I agree, natural come from sand is silicones, but If your market doesn't think that, then you're going to have to go with some natural-based ester.
And those are not necessarily going to be natural based. Yeah, how natural do you want it to be? I mean, shea butter is very natural, even the processed one. It just gets the cats and dogs out of it. So work with that. It's got a lot of nice properties. But when you get into anything beyond that, naturally derived is what you're talking about. And where Perry is talking about is getting some esters. Yeah,
I mean, if you're looking for the quality that a consumer already expects, you just can't get it with that kind of thing. Yeah. All right, we're going to take 2 more that were sent in, and we'll get back to some of the live questions. Do you know the best possible surfactant for sulfate-free combinations in a bubble bath?
That could be a lengthy answer, too.
It could be. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, use this question to talk about the whole notion of what's the best, right? What's the best ingredient for this or the best ingredient for that? There's almost never a good answer for that.
Correct.
Because the best, and that's because best depends on the cost. First of all, that's a huge issue when you're formulating. It also depends on what kind of marketing claims you want to make, right? It depends on more than just performance. Another one is we've got people from around the world. Not everybody has access to all of the chemicals that maybe everyone in America has or in the UK or whatever. And so you can't just say, oh, this is the best for that. Another question is some people will say, what's the best preservative to use? I'm like, there isn't the best.
There isn't the best. It's formula specific. It's, like Perry said, application specific. Even phenotype. If you're looking at African Americans or African hair, which we make a lot of those products here, it's a whole different formulating vector than for just regular general market hair.
Absolutely, absolutely. Next up, Luisa says, are silicones bad for body products?
Not at all.
No, I wouldn't say so. One of the
safest things you could possibly put on your skin.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the problem is, from a marketing standpoint, they might not work for you. But as far as safety and performance, there's really nothing better. Yeah, nothing better. Next up here, does menthol in a rinse-out hair conditioner cause the hair to break?
No, I saw that one. It shouldn't, unless you're using a boatload of menthol. I mean, normally you'd have 3% or less, or 2% or less, really. Right. In the shower, that'll burn your eyes at that low.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. There must be something else causing hair to break. Menthol has no keratolytic activity.
Exactly. Okay, we'll take 1 more that was sent in, and then we'll go back to some live questions. What are your top 3 to 5 anti-aging and anti-wrinkle ingredients?
Let me. Actually, I got any of the polypeptides. I've got some good claims behind them. Argireline, and then I love hyaluronic acid. I've always loved sodium hyaluronate. Makes your skin feel like a baby's behind.
Sure, it gets nice and tight.
Yeah, supple. Makes it like it's spring.
Yeah.
I got some miles behind me, so everything helps.
Well, you're still looking good despite the 70s.
Thanks, Perry. I survived the 70s.
And for me, I'm most convinced by retinol and niacinamide.
Niacinamide is good too, yeah.
Yeah. Although when you're looking at the evidence supporting the use of niacinamide, all of that work seems to be funded by Procter & Gamble. So
I didn't know that. The thing I learned today I didn't know yesterday. Thanks, Barry.
And you know what ingredient is featured heavily in their Olay line?
Oh, nice. Okay, all right. It's kind of like that Russian COVID vaccine we heard about yesterday. It might be something along those lines. Okay.
Exactly. You never know. I'm not saying there's any conspiracy.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Just as a scientist, you like to remain skeptical and published research from multiple sources is more convincing than research from just a single study. Okay, we got Patrina. Patrina said, I meant to send the following question. I selected Liquid Germall Plus as my preservative for a face mister I'm formulating, and it has green tea and distilled water, etc. Is this broad spectrum enough, or do I need something more than Liquid Germall Plus?
No, that's fantastic. It's a good product. Yeah, that's very broad spectrum.
There you go.
IBPC's in there.
Yeah. Joyce says, how do you preserve a clay mask? Clays are a little tricky to preserve, right?
Very carefully. The rule of thumb with clays and clay masks is put the preservative in first. Because, oh no, I'm sorry, I have that up. Erase the blackboard. Put the preservative in last, because clays will adsorb preservatives. So you want to put the preservatives in I think at the very last, if I remember correctly there.
Okay.
Certain clays like bentonites will actually deactivate your preservatives. So
yeah, certain ones, yeah.
They absorb things.
It's a challenge, and that's why clays really haven't been used more frequently in the cosmetic industry. They're just difficult to preserve. They
are, although again, parabens do work pretty well, and molds are a curse with clay masks.
Yeah,
more than bacteria are.
Right, exactly. Charmaine says, "How do you hire?"
Charmaine says, "Shows everybody I'm at work."
He is at work in the actual facility there. Charmaine says, "How do you hire a chemical consultant at low fees if you're a startup?"
Boy, I don't know. You shop around.
And the hard thing is that from the chemical consultant standpoint, they get contacted by a ton of people who give the following pitch. I've got this revolutionary idea. Nobody's thought of it before. I don't have any money, but so what I want to do is make you partner in this business, and we can take from there. So those are the kind of jobs that, there's so many, and those are the kind of jobs that a chemist there. It's like, I'm not going to put. So I think if you're going to hire somebody, first of all, know what your budget is. If you're trying to do it on the cheap, I think a much better strategy is if you don't have a lot of money, the best strategy I think is to go private label. It's private label. You're going to get a well-tested formula. You're going to get to take a label and make the label however you want, and you can differentiate yourself through your marketing. That's going to be your least expensive way. If you get into hiring a chemical consultant and you want a customized formula, you're just going to have money. So
you're gonna have some starter capital for sure, and even contract manufacturers like us, we'll charge a development fee for a formula. But if it's a private label formula once already established that we're just going to add a different fragrance, maybe a few extra extracts to, then we are generally not going to charge you for the formulation work, the development work. But if it's a blue sky thing, there's always going to be a fee. So be prepared to spend money.
Yeah. So if you're making such a unique product, the more unique it is, the more money it's going to cost you to make, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
Patrina, do you know of a testing lab you could recommend in Canada, specifically for microbial stability and pH testing? I don't really.
Well, Mario is up there in Montreal. I think they're headquartered in Montreal. Yeah, Mario. So I just Google it, basically.
Okay. Yeah, and I would also contact the Ontario chapter of the Society of Cosmetic Chemists.
Excellent
idea. They might have some good connections there.
They'd be able to help you. You're right.
Yeah. Jenny says, in your opinion, what is the best natural gum to use in a body lotion and in a leave-in hair conditioner?
Two different animals, apples and oranges. So as a stabilizing gum, you have to know more about the formula and the application. I generally dissuade people from using xanthan, which everybody likes because it gets that gumminess to it. And, they can mitigate that. You can mitigate that with Methocel, a little trick.
So you use xanthan gum and blend it with Methocel, and you can sort of
bit of Methocel will take some of it. It also does the same for carbol. Take some of that graininess out of there.
Yeah.
And xanthan's great because it's electrolyte stable and good in that, but it can affect your tactile sensation.
Yeah.
As for conditioners, cellulosics work real well.
Right.
Cellulosic, cationic cellulosics work excellent.
We use HEC, hydroxyethylcellulose, for all the formulas at Alberto. So your Tresemmés, your VO5s.
The conditioners.
That worked. That worked well. Yeah. Johan, I have a question about fragrances. Where can I obtain a catalog of fragrances and supply? I mean, there are a ton of fragrance suppliers, right?
IFRA is the international organization for all of them. I guess you go on their IFRA.org and search around. I think there's 55 in the United States alone.
Yeah.
Fragrance houses. So.
And you might go to like happy.com and look at their buyer's guide. So just go to Google buyer's guide, cosmetic ingredient buyer's guide, and you'll find a bunch of sources for that. Now, whether you're going to find a fragrance company that would want to work with you, that's a different story. If you go to IFF or Givaudan or one of those big guys,
the big
they
ones.
they aren't gonna want to sample to little guys. But there's Orchidia here in the Chicago area. I know the guy there.
It's good. Bel Air and Orchidia are here. They're smaller and they're good shops and they'll sample you.
They'll work with smaller startups but it depends on where you are, right?
Yeah, if you're in another nation, another continent, then you may be limited to fewer suppliers of that. Yeah.
Here's one from Jill. In European standard, it is my understanding shea butter cannot be used more than 28% of the ingredient. What about in the United States?
I don't know if any limit on shea butter here, and I don't know why there would be.
No,
I haven't read the CIR period. I don't know what the CIR would say about shea butter, but I could look into it.
Yeah, I would suggest going to CIR
.org.
CIR-safety.org.
Yes.
And you can look up ingredients like that. I'll put that in the chat. CIR-safety.org. I said CIR-safety.org. I'm putting that in the chat because that is whenever you wonder about the safety of an ingredient, don't go to the environmental working group.
Certainly not.
Go to the toxicologist report. CIR has put together reports on a ton of cosmetic raw materials. Like almost all of the regularly used ingredients have been reviewed by the CIR. Now, you always hear you will often hear the complaint that the CIR has only investigated, say, 10% of all the cosmetic ingredients. But which 10% is important? It's the 10% that are used the most frequently.
Yeah, so. 90% of the time, yes.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So
yeah, I got to think. I know there are pure shea butter products marketed here in the States. They might have shea butter or maybe a little bit of something else. So I don't know if there's a limit.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any limit. Here's one from Tom. How are particles and/or bubbles suspended in a gel formula? Oh, that's an interesting question.
It's called yield value, and yield value is related to viscosity, but it's not viscosity, not the same. You can have a low viscosity, high yield product, and that's how you suspend glitter and bubbles. The acrylate thickeners do a good job of that.
And the fascinating thing about yield value is you can have a liquidy product and still have particles suspended in it.
Oh yeah, look at laponite. You can spray it, but it'll suspend marbles, rocks.
Yeah, it's amazing. So what you want is a thickener with some yield value. As far as natural thickeners, natural. Xanthan gum is the only one that'll do that.
Xanthan and the guars, the polysaccharides in general. So the guar gums, the guar has a good yield value. You're right. Xanthan, both are saccharides. So. And
then of course carbamers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All the acrylates, the carbamers are all acrylates, cross-linked. And they're very, very good. In fact, you can't get rid of the bubbles at some point.
All right, let's move into some of the production questions that were sent in. This one comes from Emily. How do I scale up to produce a face cream and lotions for hundreds of customers? So I imagine what happened here is that she probably put together the formula in her kitchen. She says, "Oh yeah, now I want to scale it up." So,
contact a contract manufacturer who's got the process scale equipment.
That's the way to do it. And also, I would say expect that your formula is not going to be the same.
Not always. In fact, although the thing about that, Perry, there's side of that, and you're right. Sometimes it comes out better because with industrial scale equipment, you have better process controls than your kitchen stirrer. So you can actually get more reproducible results because we've got things that are controlled by programmable logic controllers, for instance, and obviously thermal wells. So you can actually sometimes get better results when you scale up. But like Perry said, don't be surprised if it's not the same.
Well, and the other issue is that the raw materials that you might use on a small scale are not going to be the same ones that the contract manufacturer is going to want to use.
Good point.
Because you have the contract manufacturer has contracts with raw material suppliers, and so they can buy things like in bulk. Whereas if you went to making cosmetics and you got the cetyl alcohol from there, they get their cetyl alcohol from, you know, whoever.
They'll buy it from one of the bigs, yeah.
Exactly. And so your formula, whenever you make a change, just because you use cetyl alcohol from some one place doesn't mean the cetyl alcohol from another place is going to work the same in the formula, even though they have the same name. Chemically, they're made differently, and there could be some variation there. So,
yeah. Oh, there's a little tip I'll give you when you're working with a contract manufacturer. Ask them what they have in stock. If we've got hundreds of extracts and some of the goodies that you might be looking for, if you come in with a really exotic thing, they'll probably say you have to supply that to us because we can't buy that. We can't buy the minimum order quantity of that material and stock 90% of it. We don't earn any money, any profit on that. So ask your contract manufacturer a little menu. What are your additives and extracts and even fragrances that you already stock, and work with that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip. Great tip. Okay, I just want to remind you we've been at this for a half hour. You are listening to the Chemists Corner forum question and answer session. We have Matt Zoeller over there. I'm Perry Romanowski, and we are actual formulating chemists who have made product or industry, and so we're answering your questions here. Here we got one from Vanita. She says, I'm Pura from India, and my question is related to the emulsifier salt scrub with Epsom salt, with water and Castile soap, and of course emulsifying with NF or beeswax. The problem I'm facing is after a few hours, the water comes up and the salt settles down. So how do you avoid the separation of the water?
I'm not sure. I think you're describing lack of suspension there. Why would magnesium sulfate not dissolve in water though? That's a little perplexing.
Yeah,
salt's very soluble. I don't know how you'd keep it from dissolving in the water. Neat trick. It says
it's emulsifying with NF and beeswax. So I mean, what's separating the beeswax, separating out from the water, probably, right?
Yeah, it could be. Beeswax alone is not an emulsifier, of course.
Right.
I'm not sure what NF is.
I'm not either. I'm like, yeah.
So we'll need more information.
Exactly. Let's go to Patty. Patty, I'm looking for an ingredient besides stearic acid that's going to harden my Syndet shampoo, and I want to be environmentally conscious.
Well, azocarite does that real well. It's based on petroleum, though, so. You don't mind having azocarite in your label, and you don't want, if people don't ask. It's based on petroleum distillate, though.
Yeah. Well, it is palm free though, so.
It's nobody burned down a rainforest to make the azocarite.
Nobody did, unless they burned it down to dig the oil well. But that's usually in a desert. So there you go. All right, another one sent in. How do you reduce the cracks in a pressed powder?
Yeah, I saw that one. Well, again, we probably need more information about your pressed powder, but that's what all those esters are used for. Esters extend the powders and keep it from cracking.
I would suggest this, though. Probably what's happening is you don't have the right pressing equipment. Those hand pressers.
Yeah, those don't work as well.
They don't work. If you really want to press a powder, you need an industrial stamper, like
it'll be like a brick. It won't crack.
Yeah, and I see there's a lot of people online getting information about doing pressed powders, and I'm just shaking my head saying that's not going to be a pressed powder that'll have much quality at all. So,
it's going to probably fall apart.
Yeah,
there are only so much chemistry can do.
Yeah, if you're serious about making pressed powders on an industrial scale, you need an actual pressed powder device.
True.
Here's one. Corey says, I'm having a hard time finding chemical company distributors that will sell smaller volumes. Any recommendations on resources?
Comes up all the time on the forum, and it all depends on what your location, your country. And we're blessed here in Chicago. We have several. We never have to go to making cosmetics or lotion crafters for anything.
Right.
But it depends on where you are in the world. I know Belasi always has, chimes in on that. He's in Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, Mexico's
right.
a good supply chain, better than most countries. So it all depends on your location. You'd have to do some sleuthing around to find out where the specialty chemical distributors are and see if they'll sell bucket quantities, pallet quantities. Here in the States, there's Universal Preservachem. They always advertise a lot. They sell small quantities.
Yeah. And like for advertising, where would people look for that? Like, is that like Happy Magazine or?
Oh yeah, Happy, HAPPI, Household Personal Products Industry, GCI. Yeah, they're all the good trade press has that.
Yeah, those are probably the best. Yeah. It is tricky though. If you're trying to buy, you know, people don't really just want to sell, you know, a bucket full of SLS. You know, they want to sell lots more. So it's just a hard thing. Here's one from Russell. Any tips on keeping cetyl alcohol in suspension? I'm trying to duplicate a shampoo and it makes a nice white cream and then it separates after a week or so.
Suspension? I think you mean in solution, right?
Well, I think what happens, and I just did this in formulating when I was working with pearlizing agents. You can make a pearlized shampoo with cetyl alcohol in a shampoo.
Wow, I've never done that.
Yeah, no, I did it, and you know, we actually used Myristal myristate as a pearlizing agent. Also,
wow, that kind of makes sense. But cetyl alcohol by itself, I didn't know that.
Cetyl alcohol.
Use the glycol esters, the glycol esters.
Exactly, that's what I would suggest you use. We would use cetyl alcohol, and I mean, I experimented. This is when I was experimenting with different pearlizing agents. So I tried cetyl alcohol. Indeed, it does pearlize. So does sterile alcohol. And indeed, after about a few days, it separates. So,
it actually kicks out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I suppose one of the ways you could do that is you could use an acrylic polymer. I think Carbapol EDT 2020 is, so you suspend the particles in there, and so that's going to prevent them from coming out. But you know, I would suggest using EGMS if you wanted to.
EGMS is the bigger one. EGDS is a lower HLB, was a little bit more difficult. And again, it's order of addition, and the other surfactants. Use a hydrotrope, an amphotericin. I like that. And actually, go ahead, Perry.
No, I would say, and it's also the speed at which like you cool it and things.
Yeah,
so that can affect the kicking out. So yeah.
Good point. Slow cool. Otherwise, you will kick it out.
Yeah,
you're right.
Alberto, in a sensitive atopic skin facial lotion, which is the best preservative system?
A topical skincare facial lotion?
Facial lotion, yeah.
Oh, facial soap. Well, you got to be careful around the face, of course. I mean, probably ethyl glycerin, the glycerins, the polyol types, the ethyl hexaglycerin, Euxil. Phenoxyethanol is going to hurt. So
phenoxyethanol will. There's benzyl alcohol, maybe.
Benzyl alcohol, I think that's in one of the combos.
Irritant. Yeah.
Stay away from phenoxyethanol, and you probably will be okay. I know the pegate glycerol cocoate, I think, is in there as one. It's in combination. Those are probably the ones to use. Yeah,
or parabens.
And then again,
there you go. Yeah.
Parabens.
Watif says, safe. How do you avoid foundation from oxidize? So
depends on what's in there.
Yeah, it does.
The foundation's oxidized. You're having color changes. It's turning color, or it's we have to know what else is in there.
Here's one from Patty. Can you clarify? Does that mean soap doesn't need a preservative or Syndet shampoos bars?
A solid state soap bar should not need a preservative, especially an alkaline-based one. What's saponified oils? If you dissolve it in water, it's going to be pH 12 for one thing. It has very little water in it, just the water that comes from the condensation reaction. That's
water activity
by whatever is in there. The water activity is 0. You shouldn't need a preservative.
Right. Now, as far as a Syndet shampoo bar goes, you probably do need a preservative because now you're lower pH. That's in a range where bacteria can grow, and so.
In that case, it's not low pH. Then it's a different story. Without you have some water activity,
right. And those classic soaps that you can buy, like somebody made goat milk soap or something like that. They don't use preservative in that. They just saponify. They do saponification, and you usually don't need it. Yeah. Charmaine says, what happens if I add extra sodium lactate to my cold process soap for hardening?
I'm not sure why you would add sodium lactate just as the humectant to add humectancy to it or something.
Yeah,
If it's saponified, it shouldn't make any difference. It should be very
right,
compatible.
right. Yeah, it shouldn't
If an
hurt the
alkaline
hardening.
saponification shouldn't hurt it at all. Yeah. Maybe make it a little softer if anything.
Yeah.
Then you add a Zoeller.
Exactly. How about here's a resource from Ray. May I ask about clear solid perfume? Do you have any recommendation for 10%?
I saw that, and here's something. Perry, let's harken back to your Alberto Culver days and the Suave deodorant stick, which is the sodium stearate with alcohol, ethanol at 60%. Well, the only way I know of to get that much fragrance into a solid, clear, translucent stick would be use the old deodorant formula.
Yeah,
with 60% alcohol and some propylene. And you got to have some water in there, and add the fragrance, and maybe it'll work.
Yeah,
try it.
Yeah,
could be. That's something new.
Exactly. Chrissy says, I'm newly trained organic formulator, trying my hand at experiment. Since this type of product, so she's saying I want a plant-based anhydrous formulation. Since this is product, this product is anhydrous. You do not expressly require traditional preservatives. Do I still need safety and stability testing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say yes. Yeah.
I think the thing is about any formula, right? You say anhydrous formula. Do I need to do microbial testing or whatever? The bottom line is you got to be able to prove that your product is safe. And only doing through stability testing and safety testing, that's the only way you can prove it's safe. Because while in the United States, you don't have to get your stuff pre-approved before you put it on the market, you do have to be able to provide the safety testing information, the stability testing information to prove that your products are safe.
Absolutely.
We
live in Perry, no water doesn't mean no irritation. Right.
Absolutely. Especially with natural ingredients. I mean, poison ivy is natural and it's anhydrous, right?
Sorry.
That's all right. All right. We got about 10 more minutes. We'll be answering questions. So let me just hop to, let's just do 10 more minutes of just the live questions here. Since you're online here. Pei says, I'm having trouble in my scale-up formulation. The water and oil foundation viscosity is inconsistent in the lab, or it's consistent in the lab, but it's not, it fluctuates in productions. Sometimes it's high. May I know what is the acceptable viscosity range considered consistent? So setting a viscosity range for a formula.
It's formula specific and packaging. What kind of dispensing, how you're going to package it and dispense it has everything to do with your viscosity range. That comes up a lot in this forum and in business. Is it going to be sprayable? Is it going to be out of a tube, out of a bottle, a jar? And in general, your range, you want to set your range a little bit broader if you can, especially if it's a complex formula like a cream. If not, you may have a range of 10, 20,000 centipoids, whereas with a body wash, Perry, 2,000, 3,000 maybe. Yeah.
Exactly. Now my philosophy on this is really your viscosity range should be set such that a consumer can't tell the difference between the high and low, right? So the shampoo, like between 5,000 and 10,000, consumers aren't going to be, But if it's 5,000 and 20,000, they might see some differences there.
Yeah, the difference between a flowing shampoo and a gum. A body wash, a pumpable body wash.
Now, I will say sometimes the difference doesn't really matter, but that's what you would go for. All right, Joy says, what kind of thickeners can thicken hand sanitizers except for carbomer?
Well, actually, 3V Sigma USA makes the best one. That's a Rapid Gel Easy one. It's an acrylate, modified acrylate, and that's a drop-in. That's the bomb. It's great. And you got a nice feel, kind of like the Cepagel does.
Yeah, nice.
But other than that, don't try the cellulose. I saw a lot of people trying to use different gums, and boy, and even Carpal itself, the straight Carpal 940 or 934, they bead. I've had one. I used one and it beaded up when the alcohol and water evaporated. Yeah, but Rapid Gel won't do that.
Right. Here's Vanita. Just wanted to ask, there are so many ingredients which have the same performing function. So which do you choose and which will be the best? Researching every ingredient causes a lot of time and money.
Well, that's what they pay us for.
That's
Research,
right.
right?
Yeah, I mean, the hard part is, yeah, that is true. If you want to research yourself, I mean, I put together the course on raw materials, so that's a great overview of all the raw materials. But if
Great
you
place
have,
to start.
yeah, if you have specific formulation questions or ingredient questions, I would say investigate in one ingredient at a time, right?
Yeah.
Patty asked, do you have the email address? If you wanted to see contacting Matt, let's see. Here is Matt's contact info. There you go. Yeah. So Matt at, I'll just leave that up there while we try to answer here. Anita, what is the ideal pH for working with niacinamide? It's gonna be a little in the lower side there. I think around pH 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I don't know if this niacinamide's activity changes that much with lower pH, but I know it's more stable at that pH, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I don't think that affects activity. Yeah.
You know, like the acids, like the desquamating acids do, like glycolic and all that.
Right. Vanita, SLS does a lot of damage to hair and even stratum corneum. What can be an alternative? If you formulate a product properly, SLS is not going to damage your hair. I wash my hair one time 1,500 times in a year, and I still have most of it. So.
Yeah, you're a good test case, Perry. As we know, there are so many co-surfactants and additives that mitigate the harshness of sodium lauryl sulfate.
Yeah,
that's why the court of public opinion weighing against it was so unfair, because we know of so many surfactants that will reduce that irritation potential way down, and it's not that difficult to do. But if it's an issue, then move on to the APGs and
APGs, the sarcosinates, the isoethionates. Those, I mean, yeah.
Sarcosinates are not that, they could be harsh too. So
yeah. Are there any glycerinice alternatives in powder form? Is there a powder form of glycerin?
Not that I know of.
Alternatives. So if you're looking for a powdered humectant, what, a sodium PCA maybe?
Yeah, something like that. A powdered humectant. That's not a bad choice, Barry.
Yeah. And Andrea says, what would you recommend for developing a vitamin C serum using L-ascorbic acid and keeping it stable?
The only way to do that really is the best way is to use the encapsulated form from Salvona. But generally speaking, the ascorbic esters, I think the one from Sinoline is one I like is the best, I think.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called. It's something ethyl ascorbate. They're almost as effective as straight vitamin C, and it's far more stable. It won't. Yeah. It's light stable.
Okay, we just got 5 more minutes here. Joy says, how would you select a good emulsifier for a stable oil and water emulsion? I mean, you got to know the oils you want to stabilize.
Polar oils, if it's mineral oil, almost anything works. If you've got triglycerides, you want to have a different approach. So use the
HLB system for calculating that, or just go straight with a polymeric emulsifier and forget about it.
Pemulin works almost every time as long as you have electrolytes. The one thing about, just as an aside on the HLB, I know the glycerol, the polyglycerol, polypropylene glycol esters are now, because they're ethylene oxide free, and I got nothing against them all, but I don't find too much on HLB values for those, although theoretically they should have HLB values. I just don't see many of the surfactant manufacturers posting those. So it's kind of a gap in the knowledge gap there.
That is a challenge, but some of that information you can Google or find it directly from the supplier. Teresa, are parabens really as bad as people make them out to be?
No,
I think we would both agree that no, parabens are perfectly safe ingredients to use. They're effective, they're cheap, they've been safety tested for years.
Far more safety testing on parabens than any of the modern preservatives you're using.
That's the thing, is all these new preservatives they haven't been safety tested that much. It's more risky, I think.
Yeah. In a way, yeah.
Yeah. Rashab says, we got that one already. Blair says, what surfactants and oils would you recommend for eye makeup removers?
So you're looking at solvents.
Yeah.
You're looking at solvents. Well, again, C12-15 alkyl benzoate, what can't it do? It'll dissolve silicones, it'll dissolve waxes.
That's favorite product. Yeah.
That's my favorite ester. That and isononosinoate. That's my other favorite ester.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to look at benzyl esters. You're going to look at basically that's what's going to take it off. And a lot of those eye makeups, the pigments will be dispersed by those very same esters. So that's probably the safest thing to use. Yeah. Without getting into something nastier.
Absolutely. Pay says, may I know how to avoid pigment and powder in foundation trap in fine lines? So making a formula so it doesn't get trapped in the fine lines.
Huh. Well, particle size?
You know what? I think next time we're going to have a color cosmetic person come on and answer something like that.
I'll be tuning in on that one.
I think one of the keys to that is including a good film former in there, so it contours and doesn't move.
Contours to it. That's a good point.
Malik says, will the replay be available? Yes, we will have a replay available. Gabriella. There are products, usually shave soap, that are beautifully pearly. Is that due to the presence of the stearic acid? And how do you do that?
Yes, and the best pearling agent in all those is, of course, triethylamine stearate. That combo worked for years. You do not get the same level of pearl with potassium hydroxide, and certainly with sodium hydroxide. It'll come out years later. I think AMP stearate has some kind of and trolamine stearate, but all those shave creams, all those pearly creams, are like Nexium, use triethylamine stearate, TEA plus stearic acid.
Yeah.
So you can just experiment with different alkali metals with potassium, magnesium, and see if you can get them up with a combo. But I've not seen one yet that can match TEA stearate, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of these chemistry questions. A lot of stuff has been tried, and we are right now using the stuff that's the best. So.
Yeah, right.
Do we need to use a measure pH in an anhydrous formula that includes vitamin C?
No, can't take pH.
Well, I'm always amused by when I read a paper. It says, "What's the pH of skin?" Skin is like a solid. There's no pH. Or hair.
Hydronium ion, right? Chemistry 101 again.
It's the isoelectric point, but we're Lynette. Which that's what people refer to as a pH, but it's not actually pH.
It's the isoelectric point, you're right.
Lynette, I would love to make a cream sulfate-free cleanser. Am I safe with cocoa betaine and cetyl alcohol and e-wax?
E-wax? Emulsifying wax?
Yeah, I think that's a sterile alcohol.
Cetyl alcohol and polysorate 60. That would probably work, but need more information.
Yeah, and it's sulfate-free. Yeah, but all creams are sulfate-free. So.
Don't know how it's going to clean.
Right. Alice, can you suggest an emulsifier to use with a simple raw sugar body scrub in a plant-based oil?
Plant-based oil. Again, plant-based oil is such a broad spectrum of chemistries. You need more information.
Olive oil, coconut oil. Yeah, it's tough to say.
Triglycerides then.
Yeah.
You want a sugar scrub, so you want to know how to suspend the sugar. Is that how I understand that?
Yeah, it says Yeah, it's a very.
They're saying emulsifying, but I think they might be referring to suspend.
They must be, because it says body scrub. So yeah.
Yeah, if that's the case, if it's all oils, you need silica. You need a coated hydrophilic silica to suspend the salts, the sugar.
Evelyn, hi Barry. I'm having difficulty seeing the presentation. I only see the chat. So recording. Yeah, we'll have the recording. I will send that. There we go. Dr. Jogi, can we store turmeric powder without preservatives?
Turmeric powder? Probably, yeah. Should be okay. Keep it airtight.
It's all about water activity. If there's no water in there, things can't grow. All right, we have time for just a few more. We're almost near the top of the hour. Thank you, Matt, so much for your time here. It's a lot of fun. And
Chemists Corner is always a good blog spot. I can't recommend it enough for all aspiring formulating chemists.
Thank you. And for all of your contract manufacturing needs, Solo Labs there, or if you just want to consult, you want to talk to Matt in the consultant capacity, there we go. Pull it back a little bit.
Oh, that's right.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. A little back, a little back, a little back. No, the other way. There you go. Okay, we got. We will send that there. All right.
My face looked better for a minute.
Shall we finish up with Anja here?
Okay.
She says, natural preservative questions. I often run out of reasons why a natural preservatives like GeoGuard Ultra or others aren't broadband when the suppliers say it is. What would you answer for that? So supplier says, hey, this is broad spectrum, and then you find out, oh, it's not.
Be skeptical.
I mean,
all I can say.
This is what I want to tell you about raw material suppliers. Wonderful people in the industry, but they are marketing products and they want you to buy products. Now, when they say, oh, this all natural preservative is broad spectrum, I have no doubt that they're not specifically lying. I have no doubt that they set up a system where they created and they customized the system to work with their preservative, and then they can show that it works great in that system. And all that they've shown is it works in that system. That doesn't mean it's going to work in your system.
One form out of millions.
Yeah, exactly.
Different permutations, different arrays, yeah.
All of the information you get from suppliers about raw materials, they are giving you only the information that will make you want to buy the ingredient. They aren't going to tell you, someone selling a high-end ester or a high-end emollient, they're not going to tell you that, oh, glycerin or mineral oil works better than this one. Right? They're going to say,
yeah, of course.
Because mineral oil is cheap. You're not going to hear the humectant suppliers tell you how great glycerin is because glycerin's cheap. So
as Perry's saying, that it brings up the, evoking the 70s again, question authority.
Right. Yeah, you have to question.
You have to question.
All right.
Authority.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for participating.
My pleasure, Perry.
Yeah, and thank you so much for participating in Forum. If you want to find Matt, we have shared his email already. You can also find him in the Chemists Corner forum. He's chemicalmatt, and we're here to answer questions. So thank you so much, and until next time, we are signing off. Thanks, everybody.
Stay well, everyone.
All right. Bye. Well, hello, everyone. We are going to get started. It's a quarter to the top of the hour. So we'll get started in 15 minutes. I just thought I'd come on. I like to give people a little chance to shout out, say hello. We got 8 people online. Hello. Feel free to post in the chat and let me know where you're from, your name, to say shout out, say hi. That way you'll know this is actually live. We're waiting on Matt, who will be joining us shortly. Just trying to set up the technology. Got 22 of you online right now. I'm looking forward to this. We got lots of questions. Hope we get through as many as we can. But if you're curious, in the chat box, feel free to just post a hello or let me know you're there. Look, I got this little foster cat that we're going to today. See, Kitty, you're on there. Can't actually have a cat, but I'm fostering that cat for just a few weeks. She's very skittish. She's just getting used to us. But yeah, we're going to get started in 13 minutes. We got Nani. Hello, Nani. Welcome to the forum. Just waiting on Matt. Let's see if I got a message from him. Okay, he was looking for the link, but let me send him the link. This is why we start early. And we want to get Matt on board here. There we go. He should be joining us shortly. In the meantime, if you have a question, you can just post it in the chat and maybe we'll get to that one. We got a lot of questions sent in. I'm not even sure if we're gonna get to all of them in the 1 hour we've got set up, but already got over 40 people online, and we're all early. And I see that the sun has wreaked havoc on my face. I have looked better, but you can't control such things. So I don't know what's going on with my hair. Sorry, I should have. At least I shaved today. I'm happy to have shaved. All right, let's see. Hopefully, 44. That's my favorite number. We've got 44 people online. We got Chad. Hello, Chad. Good morning. I'm always curious where people are from. So if you do say hello, let me know where you're from. It's always so fun. And now the kitty cat is back, making this is Macy, available for adoption. If you are looking for a cat that mostly likes you, she makes a good one there. All right, we're gonna get started. Just 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Chad is in Tucson, Arizona. Hello, Anna. Welcome aboard. We just waiting on Matt to come on here, and he will be joining us shortly, ideally, or he'll just get me. No, we worked it out with Matt. He will be. We got Wendy from Indonesia. Well, what time is it in Indonesia? That must be early, late. Hey, looks like Matt is joining the room. Aji from Nigeria. Hello, Aji. Matt, welcome.
How you doing, Perry?
Got Lynette from Uganda online too. Look at this. We've got a whole international cadre of folks out there. Nani is from Malaysia. She says it's 11 p.m. right there.
11 p.m. I have to put this in portrait mode, looks like.
Sure. Well, this is why we tune in early, just so people can see this gem of pre-webinar stuff. So
yeah.
We've got Mahak from India, Gordana from Croatia. Matt, did you know we had such an international audience here?
I did not realize that. I'm trying to get my picture up here. Let me get this going. Otherwise, you don't see the virtual me, you see the actual me.
We do.
Hello, folks. Chemical Matt.
Hello, Chemical Matt. Welcome aboard. We've got Lynette.
Nice to meet Olga.
Lynette's in Uganda. It's 5:50. We've got Audrey, South London. And Jan. Jan said she took our course. Or yeah, Jen. Oh, Jen. Yes, Jen. Hello, Jen. How are you? Thank you. Loves the podcast. Matt, I was thinking I gotta restart the Chemists Corner podcast. I haven't done it in a while.
Oh, really? Was the last time this year?
No. I probably haven't done an episode of that since 2016. But I do the beauty brain, so there's always that.
That's always the beauty brains one. Yeah, I saw some of the questions that the forum members passed in. You could probably form a 1-hour webinar on just chemical processing, for instance. Sulfate-free shampoos. There's a lot of topics that come up recurringly, and you could probably host webinars on those.
Oh yeah, for sure. But we've got a ton of questions sent in. I was just looking, and I didn't look at the update, but we have over 70 questions sent in. So I'm not sure we'll get to them all, but I will tell you this.
But we'll go through
But I will tell you this. Yeah, no, but if you sent in a question through the form, the Google form, at the very least, I will email you some sort of answer. So if we don't cover it online here, you'll get that. Emmanuel from Ghana. Wow, hello. Wow.
Ghana, all right.
Yeah.
West Africa.
Yeah, we got Linda from Australia.
Oh, fantastic.
Which must be pretty late there. Thank you so much for everyone joining. Wow, that's people from all over the world. Matt, did you get the power back on?
Yeah, the derecho, the storm front that came through Monday, knocked out our server, knocked out our power for a while. Big, strong storm came through Chicago. For those of you listening and watching, Perry and I are about 20 kilometers apart. He on the north side of Chicago, I'm on the south side of Chicago. But a storm came through Monday. I didn't have a server for 2 days, no internet. Even the phone was out for over a day. So we're back online now. It's a manufacturing plant here, so that was a bit of a hassle.
And that storm blew by really fast too. I know. I went for a run. I got in like 2 minutes later. Everything went black. The winds came. It knocked down part of a tree in front of my house, and then then it was gone. It's amazing.
A little burst of violence followed by a bunch of peace.
That's right. Well, welcome everybody. Look at that. We've got Lorraine from South Africa, Tiffany from Indonesia.
Wow.
10 p.m. Wow, Linda, 1 a.m. Thank you so much for staying awake.
Thank you, everybody. Chemist.
For sure, for sure. Well, I think it just goes to show you the appreciation that people have for actual real cosmetic industry formulation advice. There's a lot of advice on the internet, but not all of it is from people who actually have made this stuff in industry. So,
yeah, those of us who have actually done it for many years.
Well, I'm always amused by people who they can put together an emulsion in their kitchen and then think that you're going to be able to scale that formula up and make 1,000 bottles of it. It just doesn't happen that way.
It's trickier that way. In fact, I saw one of the questions about liability insurance and incorporation. So there's answers for all those too. We have answers for all that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. As we know, we're chemists. We're physical chemists, polymer chemists, and formulating is both a science and an art. But there's more science to it than most people care to acknowledge sometimes.
Yeah,
a lot more science.
And it's also amazing to me how many specific questions don't actually have researched answers. There are some things you would think like, what should the pH of a skincare product be? I don't know.
Depends. What's the application?
Yeah, the answer.
Desquamation could be 2, it could be 10.
Yeah, the answer to a lot of questions is it depends, which is sometimes unsatisfying. Now, before we get started, we're getting started in 5 minutes. I put together a short slide presentation just to give you a sense of what topics we can cover, the types of questions we can answer. There's some stuff we can't answer, but we'll answer whatever we can. I don't know how helpful the answer will be for some things, but whatever. We do what we can here. Thank you so much, everybody. This is sort of a live version of the Chemists Corner forum. Chemists Corner, you're probably on this webinar because you went to the forum. There you go. And you can tell Matt is actually at his manufacturing facility. So there's going to be
I'm in my office, door closed. Otherwise, I'd have my mask on, as we all should.
That's right. Everybody should. So we're going to get started I got 4 minutes to the top of the hour. Matt, before we get started, though, why don't you let us know, how did you get started in this cosmetic industry?
Well, I studied to be a polymer chemist, actually. I was going to get into plastics, coatings, wherever polymer chemistry would take me. And I got a job my first job was an analytical chemist for a big pharma company. I did gas chromatography, drug actives. And from there, I sort of took a segue into contract manufacturing using my drug experience and cosmetic product manufacturing and development in the 1980s. And it's a vortex from which I've never left, because it's a fun industry. It's just,
it really is.
Yeah. You never know what's going to happen. At contract manufacturing, of course, is a great place to learn. I know Perry's worked with contract manufacturers before. And,
you work on a ton of different types of formulas. I worked I worked at a cosmetic company, and I did hair products and skin products and even feminine deodorant sprays. But a contract manufacturer, you're doing household things. You're doing whatever somebody wants.
I'll give you, just for instance, today's formulation list out there, the text. We've got a wart remover, salicylic acid wart remover, and flexible collodion. Then we've got 2 hair care products, a bootleg quat disinfectant, bootleg meaning not EPA registered. And what else? We've got an HA skincare product. So, and somebody walks in today, they want a air wax remover, we can do that.
Right. Now, do you guys make car wax?
We do, actually. It's a tough cleanup, but we do make car wax. Yeah.
Indeed. I just saw a little note from Nikki. She says, hey, I can't connect. if you're having connection issues, so what you want to do, it's usually on the internet on your end, but what you want to do if you're having a problem, just hit refresh on your browser, and that'll usually reconnect people. We're also recording this, so if you've signed up, you'll be able to see a replay, if even the replay is going to be of better quality. Now, here's a question. Here's a point for everybody. We're going to get started in 1 minute. But if you have a question, post it in the chat there. We're going to be answering a lot of the questions that were already sent in. But since you guys are live, we'll take some of those live questions, and we'll just answer what we can. Yeah. So looks like we're a minute away. Do you feel the energy? Hello, Sabina. Hello, Jill. Jill's from Texas, educator from Texas. Looks like we've got people all over the world, and we're starting in just 1 minute. My cat I said my cat, it was just a foster cat. So did I tell you that, Matt? You missed earlier.
It's a foster cat that's stuck, huh?
No, she hasn't stuck. We've only had her for 3 days. So
still a foster cat.
Yeah, still fostering. Well, you know, the first day she bit me, but other than that, she's perfectly fine.
Just doesn't like you, Perry.
I think
Maybe likes everybody else.
Well, we got hello, Rebecca from Nigeria, Fatasha from Singapore. Hello, Switzerland.